For the first 20 minutes of the episode, Sharni is moping around the hero's tribe missing Gerry, whilst Gerry is anointed into the Spice Girls alliance on the villain's tribe by Shonee, who dubs herself as Posh Spice, George as Scary Spice, Liz as Sporty Spice and Gerry as Old Spice. We then cut straight to an immunity challenge where our castaways push a heavy ball around the water and attempt to steer it into a goal without the other tribe interfering. Simon can't control his ego in the game, what a surprise, and George pleads with him not to goad the other tribe. Ultimately, heroes win and our tribe of 7 villains are headed back to tribal council once more. And that's when things really heat up. Poor Geordie is struggling between his head and his heart, his game and his friendship, as he ponders if now is the time to give his best friend Simon the boot, given he's on everyone, and we mean everyone's, nerves. Simon is my best mate in here, but it's been awful the past few days. I've seen cracks emerge, people are frustrated with Simon. It's come down to a really tricky situation, he tells the cameras. As time has gone on, his ego has gotten the best of him. I'm not going down with this sinking ship. Whilst George, Shonee and Liz do their best to win over Geordie to their cause of snuffing Simon's torch, Simon is buttering up Stevie, asking him to be a mole in the Spice Girls alliance in what they dub Operation Anaconda. And boy does Stevie lay it on thick as he tries to win the trust of George. I don't want to blow up your ego or anything, but I really admire you, he tells George, who is clearly amused. I just love being sneaky, Stevie tells the cameras afterwards. Come tribal council, Simon still naively thinks he has an immunity idol, and he and George engage in a tit-for-tat that turns rather personal. Simon refers to George as a cockroach and him an exterminator, tells George he is a weak player. Then there is a strange horse analogy, and despite Simon telling his other tribe mates that he wants to treat people with kindness and respect, clearly that doesn't extend to George. As their back and forth continues, Geordie interrupts, calling both players out on their antics. Let's not get nasty. We are getting really nasty here. You need to remember this is a game and nothing personal. Life is bigger than you two's little spat. This is Survivor. We are here to have fun and not be assholes to each other. Say it louder for those in the back, Geordie. And if things couldn't get more intense, Jonathan drops the bombshell that the villains' tribe will have the opportunity to compete for individual immunity prior to voting in a classic Survivor challenge, fire building. Simon wins, which means he misses out on using his faux immunity idol for himself. We can't wait to see how that will eventually blow up in his face, but then the question turns to who will go home, given we also know George has a real immunity idol. After votes are counted, George pleads with Simon to use his idol, not realizing it's not actually an idol, to save his alliance member and friend Stevie, but Simon refuses and Stevie is left heartbroken. Honestly, if we could have reached through our televisions to hug him, we would have. Geordie's treachery, he told George Simon had what he thought was an idol prior to tribal council, is also exposed by George to Simon, and Geordie is forced to give Simon the cold, hard truth. Survivor is a game, and no one wants to play with Simon. And finally, the votes are read out. George gets 2 that are nullified by his idol, Stevie gets 2 and Fraser gets 3 thanks to an epic blindside from the Spice Girls. It becomes clear that George trying to convince Simon to flush his idol for Stevie was an act, and a means of proving to Stevie where Simon's loyalties lay. And boy did it work, Stevie telling Simon, it is obvious to me that we are not friends. That's gotta hurt. And checkmate, a member of Simon's alliance is going home. Stevie is now firmly on George's side, and Geordie and Simon have broken up their bromance. We do wonder though whether George saving Stevie will work out in his favor, or backfire like it did with Way on Survivor Brains vs Bronze. The episode then ends with yet another epic one-liner from Jonathan: only one of you may have made fire tonight, but it's clear that the villain's tribe is going up in flames. Fraser then makes a closing remark to the camera: what happens between George and Simon is anyone's guess from here. It's eat or be eaten. And honestly, we are at a loss for words with this one. We just can't wait to watch what unfolds next. But most importantly, #justice for Stevie.